morning, and welcome to another edition of Young People's Report. I'm Andrew Grefe.
And I'm Lauren Rozyla. Today we're in Frankenmuth at the world's largest Christmas store, Bronner's Christmas Wonderland. This place is not only full of tons of decorations, it's also full of tradition. Jacquelyn Thomas explains.
This time of year, we deck the halls and trim the tree. But have you ever wondered why? Like, why did we start decorating trees?
Well, I think people decorated trees because they liked the way they looked. The tree itself is a symbol of eternal life because it's green all year long.
Here at Bronner's in Frankenmuth, you'll find many interesting decorations and ornaments. But more importantly, the stories behind them.
My favorite legend is the legend of the poinsettia, the beautiful Christmas flower. It starts out as a Mexican legend of a little boy who didn't have anything to give the baby Jesus figure in church. So on his way to church, an angel told him to pick some dried flowers. So he did that, and he laid them by the baby Jesus figure in church, and magically they turned into the beautiful poinsettia flower.
This is Mr. Mushroom Man. And mushrooms are considered in European culture to be a symbol of good luck. People would find mushrooms, and before they had real fancy decorations, they would hang them on the tree.
The chimney sweep ornament, the legend goes back that if you were touched by the chimney sweep and he left a little soot on you, it brought good luck.
There was an old woman, a very poor woman. She couldn't afford any decorations. This was back in Europe in the old times. So she kept her house very tidy and just swept up the night before Christmas. And lo and behold, a spider spun a web that evening on the tree. And when she woke up in the morning, the rays of the sun came through the window and hit the web and turned it into silver. So from her misfortune, she found fortune.
And what's the deal with the pickle ornament?
It was the last ornament hung on the tree on Christmas Eve. And in the morning, the first child that came out and found the pickle on the tree received an extra special gift from St. Nicholas.
No matter what your family's nationality, you can pretty much bet that there's a Christmas tradition to go along with it.
This one that I held up here, for example, this is very typical of what they would use in Germany. And in the Italian countries, they get a little bit more creative. They take raw glass tubes and they create different figures out of them. And in the Czech Republic, they specialize in decorating with straw ornaments, and they also do a fantastic job with bead ornaments, glass bead ornaments.
So no matter if you're looking for a new family tradition or reliving an old one, decorating for the holidays has something special for everyone. From Bronner's in Frankenmuth, I'm Jacquelyn Thomas reporting for YPR.
Having all those ornaments is nice, but you need somewhere to hang them. That's where the Christmas tree comes in. Amy Yancho visited a local farm where the crop grows tall and green.
This time of year, we start to think about Christmas presents and Christmas dinner. But what would Christmas be without a Christmas tree? Here at Trim Pines Tree Farm, there are about 100,000 trees to choose from in 7 different varieties.
The most popular is the Scotch pine because it's one that it will hold its needles quite for a considerable length of time, and it's one that is least expensive of all the trees. What is unique about our tree farm is it brings all kinds of people here as a family. Everyone comes usually with their family or their friends or even a group of their friends, and they enjoy our horse-drawn wagon rides out to the fields.
Well, it's just fun. The whole family can have their say in it, and we all end up deciding on one eventually.
Who's going to cut it?
Me!
Get started.
Yeah, I'll lift up the branches.
This is the time of the year when it brings their families together, and they all get together and come out and cut a tree. And it makes togetherness.
Once you found the tree you like, it's time to take it home to be decorated. But if you don't care for the tree right, it can become dangerous.
Make sure they have good electric cords that have no frayed edges or anything. Keep it away from an intense heat source so that the needles do not dry out, because if the needles dry out, there's a good possibility that maybe a fire could happen.
Choosing your own tree can be a lot of fun, and I've already found mine. From the Trim Pines Farm in Grand Blanc, I'm Amy Yancho reporting for YPR. Have a happy holiday.
Decorating for the holidays is only part of the fun. There's also great food and wonderful candy. Samantha Roth stopped by a local shop in Frankenmuth to find out how one of those wonderful treats is made. She has our story.
When it comes to Frankenmuth, most people think of chicken dinners. However, in one kitchen, they don't make chicken at all. They make something a little sweeter. At the Frankenmuth Fudge Kitchen, fresh fudge is made 10 to 15 times a day. You can even choose your favorite fudge from their 19 flavors. For the fudge makers, creating this delicious treat is more of an art than a science.
Well, the process of making fudge starts when we use the batching step. That's the first step. And what we do is we put ingredients like sugar and cocoa into a bucket, at which point we dump it into our big copper kettle. At that point, what we do is we take about 4 quarts of coffee cream and we pour that into the kettle as well. Once we get that stirred up, we turn on the flame and it cooks for about 15 minutes. At that point, it's about 240 degrees, and then we dump it out on our large marble tables. The marble table actually acts like a huge heat sponge, and it draws all the heat out of the candy and cools it real evenly. Over the 10 minutes that the fudge actually just sits and cools on the table, it cools down to about 110 degrees. At that point, we take our large paddle called a creamer, and we push it around on the table for probably about 5 to 10 more minutes. And during that process, what it's actually doing is it's blending all the sugars in the fudge together and making it nice and smooth. That's what gives the fudge its creamy texture. After we get it like that, it thickens up enough that we can use some smaller paddles at that point, and we use those to actually work the fudge up into the log shape. And that log shape consists of basically just pushing the fudge on top of itself and not rushing it or going too slow. If we rush it, basically we trap a lot of heat inside the candy, and that'll cause it to break down. If we go too slow, then it actually will set up in a shape that we don't need, and it doesn't do us any good. So at that point, when we get it finished, we let it cool on the table for about 5 more minutes, and then we take one of our large knives and start to cut it up.
They make about 150 tons each year and give out samples at the end of each batch.
There you go.
Boy, is it good. From the Frankenmuth Fudge Kitchen, I'm Samantha Roth reporting for YPR.
We have to take a break, but when we come back, we'll find out how a local man is bringing some toys to life.
Don't go away.
Toys that move are powered by electricity or batteries. But in Flint, a few are being powered by imagination. Kristen Lucas Perry investigated to find out how this magic works. She has our story.
All of us have been to a puppet show or have seen them perform on TV to know that it takes quite a bit of practice and skill to control them. But what most people don't know is that the real art is making them.
People aren't used to seeing marionettes too much anymore. For a lot of children in schools now, or in libraries where I do my shows, they've never seen a marionette before in their life, so this is something brand new. I think what's special about them is that I'm still using very old techniques to build these puppets. My puppets are carved mostly from wood, and there aren't that many puppeteers around today who are doing that. Many people have gone to simpler methods. The first thing I have to do is make a drawing of the puppet the same size I want the puppet to be. Most of my puppets are about 2 feet tall. And then I make cardboard patterns from that drawing. Here on this side, we've got the patterns for the front of the marionette. His chest, his tummy, his hips, a leg here, a foot here, and an arm here. And then I draw these pieces onto a block of wood. Here, for instance, is the side of one arm.
The pieces of wood are then carved and shaped to make the skeleton for the marionette.
Next, I have to cut these pieces apart. This notch shows me where the puppet's elbow is going to be. So I cut this in 2, and using heavy string, which I thread through almost like you'd string beads, I can make a joint so the arm can move. Here's a leg, and you can see here the cord that I used to keep all the pieces together. So the leg can bend at the knee, just like your knee and mine can move, and it can bend here at the ankle, up and down a little bit. And when all of this is put together, we've got a body that works a lot like ours does. The next thing I do is model a head in clay. Then I have to use plaster to make a mold, and I pour rubber in the mold, and when it pops out, I've got a head that only needs paint.
After that, a custom-fitted costume is made for the marionette. Then strings are added so it can be controlled. As you can see, making a marionette is just as much an art as performing with one. And no two are ever alike. In Flint, I'm Kristen Lucas Perry, reporting for YPR.
For special occasions, like holiday celebrations, we usually have to get dressed up, which isn't always fun. But as Claire Munger and a few other YPR reporters found out, getting a new look can be quite an adventure. She explains.
Let's say you and a couple of close friends are looking for something fun to do. Your soccer game was yesterday, and playing with Barbie just isn't as much fun as it used to be. So what can we do for excitement? How about getting a whole new look? Here at Olin Mills Glamour Studio, they do your hair, add the right makeup and clothing, and take pictures of the result. Let's see what they can do for 3 YPR reporters.
I've always wanted to do hair, so as soon as I got the opportunity, I took it. Each person's different, so it's like a new challenge with each person. We do all of our makeup dark for our pictures. It's like a photographic makeup, and that way it'll show up brighter and more vibrant in our pictures to make it look more glamorous.
Glamour photography is a lot of fun. Everybody likes getting made over. The results, well... This is Claire Munger reporting for YPR from Olin Mills Glamour Studio in Flint.
We have to take another break, but don't go away. We have much more to come on YPR.
Holidays are a time to give and to share, but a group of local kids have been doing just that for a while. David Patton stepped in to see just how these kids are helping the needy. He filed this report.
Okay, I need chicken people. I need people that know how to make chicken and like to make chicken.
Every Saturday, kids from White Pine Middle School travel to First Baptist Church to feed Saginaw's less fortunate. The program started last year when a fundraiser did better than expected.
Instead of giving the money to people to help the homeless, we decided to get the food together and go to a church and do it ourselves. So that went really well, and we were like, that was really cool. So Miss Kay decided to have it ongoing, and that's how Sage got started.
I don't know how this happened, but all of a sudden we have this incredible group of middle school students that are really, gung-ho about it. They're extremely responsible. We do the meal planning. We go grocery shopping together. We do inventory when Hidden Harvest comes in and brings in food. They just do a lot of behind-the-scenes work.
Now, instead of watching cartoons or playing video games, this group of dedicated kids spend their Saturday mornings cooking and serving food, a service that is very much appreciated.
Great to have good friends, and it's great that God provides for people like us that don't have, and the sharing and the caring and the smiles, and thank you.
What they're doing is good. You cannot beat it. The girls are wonderful, and where everybody can get together.
The funnest part, I think, is helping and playing around, because sometimes we just have fun. You like talking to the people I like the best, because you get to meet the interesting people.
Well, I enjoy helping people. There's a feeling inside me after I do it that it's a very great feeling, and I like doing it a lot.
The meals do more than satisfy empty stomachs. These kids make some very good food.
Yeah, I keep coming back because, like I said, I enjoy the food, and like I say, I bring my kids here.
The people that be here, they sit down and talk to you, and I learned a lot of them is from the White Pine schools, and I know a lot of them is, from around, and we sit and talk a lot. So it's easier, and they help them, like I say, time out food with the kids. They play around with the kids.
We are at a point where students actually go up to kids without a second notice. They were people that were very shy. Now they're very outgoing. They're very friendly, and they go to the other kids, like within the school, and they're really able to tell them what's going on in the community, what's happening. And I know that this is something that they cannot learn at any classroom textbook. This is something that they have to do hands-on, and I guess as a teacher, that's very rewarding.
The program is called Help Change Hunger, and that's exactly what it is doing. From Saginaw, I'm David Patton reporting for YPR.
If you would like to get involved, contact an organization in your area. They are always looking for donations of food, time, and money.
If you had a lot of money, what would you do with it? That's the question we asked some local kids in our YPR Question of the Week.
If I had all the money I wanted to spend, I would buy books for libraries and help out charities, and I'd also buy computers for schools that didn't have any computers, and then finally I'd buy a little apartment for myself.
I'd spend it for world peace because we need world peace, and I'd buy a lot of magic cards.
I would make an amusement park because there isn't very good ones anywhere.
I'd buy all the magic cards in the world, all the Star Wars stuff in the world, and then give the rest to charity.
I would get my brother the Sega game system he always wanted, and I'd also buy my little brother Zach lots of police toys, because that's what he wants to be when he grows up.
If I had lots of money to spend, I would spend it on humane societies so they can build more so they don't have to put dogs to sleep.
If I had all the money in the world, I would buy a mansion and that's all, yeah.
If I had lots of money to spend, I'd probably spend it to give it to the poor and to help them build the houses and buy better food for the school because the school food stinks.
If you have a suggestion for Question of the Week or a story idea for YPR, drop us a line. The best way is to write us a note and send it to Young People's Report, NBC 25, P.O. Box 250, Clio, Michigan 48420. You can also send us a fax or email us. You never know, you could be our next story.
We have to take another break, but don't go away. There's much more to come on YPR. People are sending and receiving a lot of mail. But do you ever wonder how it all happens? Kristen Harris did. So she visited a local post office in Saginaw and filed this report.
So you've written a letter, for example, to YPR. Now you need to mail it. Whether from a mailbox at home or from one on a street corner, it all goes to the same place, the post office.
Once at the post office, our letter joins the rest of the mail to be sorted. The first step takes place on this machine.
The employees all know this big purple device as Barney. On this, all of the large or odd-shaped mail is removed. Next, the mail is put in order. This machine makes sure all the stamps are facing the same direction. This is important because the next step is to cancel the stamp.
The advanced spacer canceller puts the mail in order, cancels the stamp, and then determines whether or not it's automation compatible. And what I mean by that is whether it can be processed by a machine or by a person.
After being canceled, our letter, along with the rest of the mail, moves on to be sorted. Our letter didn't have a computer barcode, but if it did, this machine would sort it by zip code for delivery. If the envelope has a typed address but no barcode, this machine actually reads the address and puts a barcode on the envelope. It is called an optical character reader.
And not only does it read the zip code, it even checks to see if the address exists.
The optical character reader makes sure the street is in the city is in the state, and then it sprays on a barcode that corresponds with that information at a rate of 10 per second.
Since our envelope is now readable by a machine, a picture of the address is sent down to Louisville, Kentucky, where a person types it in and it is electronically sent back so a barcode can be put on it. From there, all the barcoded mail is sent to distribution centers, where the envelopes are sorted by delivery route and dropped off at their destination, like our mailbox in Clio. I'm Kristen Harris reporting for YPR.
What would it be like to be on stage performing in front of a packed theater with one of the most famous dance groups in history? That's exactly what some local kids are doing. Patrice Ford caught up with them at the Fox Theater in Detroit and filed this report.
For more than 60 years, the Rockettes have been dazzling people with their Christmas spectacular across the country. But what many don't realize is that some of the talent can be found right here in Michigan.
I'm from Montrose, Michigan, and I started performing on stage when I tried out at Wayne State University here in Detroit. I studied dance. I do tap, ballet, jazz, and acrobatics. I take part in the show in a lot of parts. I do the opening number, I do Christmas in New York, I do Holiday Spirit, Carol of the Bells, and Nativity.
I'm from Dearborn, Michigan, and I started dance when I was 3, and I did recitals from then. I tried out for the Radio City Christmas Spectacular at Wayne State University with over 100 girls. We had to do a ballet dance, we had to do a jazz dance, and we had to sing. After a couple months I tried out, my mom got a phone call and she called me and she told me I got the part.
I am from Wixom, Michigan, and I started performing last year when I did the show. And this is my second year doing it, and I love it. I think the second year's better because it's kind of like, it's like you get to see everyone again, and it's just nicer than the first time. Even though the first time was a great experience for me, it's like it's just happened again.
Yeah, I get nervous a lot before I go on. I think I get nervous almost every performance because you just get that one urge that you may mess up, and you really don't want to. Opening night was I loved it. It was really wonderful, but I was really nervous at the very beginning of the show.
Adam and his co-workers will perform 5 shows a week and will have done over 30 shows when the season is done, making for a daily routine that is tightly choreographed as the show itself.
Typical day, like for us, is we go to school from 9 to 12, and then we have a lunch break until 1, and then we rehearse. Well, I hope I see myself doing this again, because I really enjoy doing this.
For Adam, Megan, and Brittany, performing on stage in the Fox Theater is an honor and a thrill that never gets tiresome. At the Radio City Christmas Spectacular in the Fox Theater in Detroit, I'm Patrice Ford reporting for YPR.
That's all the time we have for this week.
Thanks for joining us and have a great weekend. Having all those ornaments is nice, but you need somewhere to hang them. That's where the Christmas tree comes in. Amy Yancho visited a local farm where the crop goes tall and
Decorating for the holidays is only part of the fun. There are also wonderful treats and candy.
We have to take a break, but when we come back, we'll find out. We have to take a break, but when we come back, we'll find Darn. Most toys that move are powered by electricity or batteries, but in Flint, a few are being powered by imagination. You never know, you could be our next story.
We have to take another break, but don't go away. There's much more to come on YPR.
Pretty fake for me.
I had the cheesy smile, but
me too.
That's all the time we have for this week.
Thanks for joining us, and